If you live in Greater Victoria, you may have seen signs or other campaign material for a group called VIVA Victoria. It's running candidates in 2 elections, Victoria Council and the Greater Victoria School Board. The group has been getting some attention online lately, so our reporter Kathryn Marlow is here to tell us more about them in studio. Kathryn, good morning.
Good morning, Gregor.
So what is VIVA?
Well, it stands for Vancouver Island Voters Association. It was founded by John Randall Phipps, who is a longtime Victoria resident. He founded Kabuki Cabs, a pedicab company, and he was the People's Party of Canada candidate in the 2021 federal election. Now, the PPC, of course, is led by Maxime Bernier. The party opposes vaccine mandates and many COVID measures and has campaigned on repealing anti-hate measures, such as Bill C-16, which added gender expression and gender identity to the list of prohibited grounds of discrimination. That's under the Canadian Mental Health the Canadian Human Rights Act. Now, in a video posted to the Viva's Facebook page, Phipps says he's seen change in the city over the past decades, so he started the organization.
I've got a lot of skills. I've brought them to the table to try and empower rookie politicians to get involved and have their voices heard and to represent the people that are not in the room. If you're not in the room, you're not in the deal. And there's powers that are at play here that want to shut you out. And all I'm trying to do here is to have the common citizen represented in the school board and at city council to take back some of the things that have been ceded. They don't want your voices heard.
That is just some of a clip with a lot of background music
Yes.
as well on the Viva
that was quite
Facebook
thematic
page.
there, yeah.
Now, Gregor, John Randall Phipps doesn't elaborate on what those things are that he says have been taken away or who exactly the they he refers to are.
Okay, but who are the people running for VIVA then?
So there's 7 people running for council, 6 for school board. They come from a range of backgrounds. They call themselves ideologically diverse. Emmanuel Parenteau is one of the council candidates. I asked him to explain what VIVA is.
That's interestingly and ironically hard to define because, for example, there are candidates outside of VIVA that I have more in line with politically than with some of them inside of VIVA, because we basically range from center-left NDP voters to center-right, which is probably where I would be.
Now, I did speak to one school board candidate, Sasha Zong, who said she leans federal liberal. Then, of course, there is the PPC-affiliated Phipps. So broad spectrum when we're talking about sort of political leanings. Now, when it comes to platforms as well, they're pretty broad strokes. For council, the platform is affordability, accountability, accessibility. For school board, it is academic excellence, transparency, and parental involvement and fiscal responsibility.
Okay, and we heard there Emmanuel Parenteau say he's more in line with some people outside VIVA than in. So what do they have in common?
You know, I'll say first that one thing the people I spoke to said is partly this, they joined this late because it's an organization and it helps with campaigning. It's hard to campaign alone. But some of the other things they told me, Sasha Zong, the school board candidate, told me they are all, quote, concerned private citizens. And certainly the other candidates that I spoke to echoed what we heard in that clip of founder Phipps, that they feel like the voices of regular people haven't been at the table. Parenteau says that he's running because after a lifetime in Victoria, he and his family are thinking about leaving because of affordability and safety. So he thought he would try a council run first. As I said, he's worried about affordability and public safety. He would like a law and order solution to homelessness. He says he would push for the province to create more shelter space. He gave the tiny homes at Royal Athletic Park as an example. He also talks about changing bike lanes and other things like that. Now, Jeremy Maddock is another candidate I spoke to. He says he's running because of what he calls a deficit of accountability at council right now. He says he's interested in incentivizing building housing, things like garden suites and co-ops, and making it easier for cars to get around the city, ending what he calls the city's war on cars. He would also have open houses at a regular basis in council so that people could talk to their council members, although you can currently go and attend meetings and watch public hearings. And as I mentioned, both Maddock and Zong said they joined the slate at least part because of the organizational support it provides. They help with signs, they help you campaign, and that can be make things a lot simpler in a situation like this. Okay,
so those are some of the council candidates then. What about those running for school trustee?
So only one of the 6 candidates spoke to me, Sasha Zong, as I mentioned. She's a business owner in Victoria. She says she'll bring her financial experience to the table. She's got 2 kids in their 20s, but she says she's running because one of her daughters was bullied all the way through school. She says she wants to make sure that teachers punish bullies, and she says she wants schools to focus on academics.
personally, I want to see our focus in school to be on learning and teaching. Back to the, basics. I've noticed a lot of students don't know grammar, English grammar, do not write well, do not read much, and math is like even my daughter, for example, she was scared of math. And so I want our focus to be on academics.
Gregor, that matches a lot of what the Viva School trustees say in their candidate profiles. They talk about a return to focus on academics. Some of them specifically talk about math and reading and history and music. But many also say that they want to get away from some call political or ideological conversations. And they say they want to make sure that parents have a say in their child's education and that their family and cultural values are protected. Now, this kind of language has led to concern among some parents who say it is a step away from inclusive policies like SOGI 123. That's the province's mandated sexual orientation and gender identity policy, which is meant to create a safe space for students of all sexual orientations and gender identities. Now, Sasha Zhang told me that that's not true, that it would not be a step away from that. She says she is against bullying and wants schools to be inclusive and safe spaces for all students. But I spoke to one parent who says what she sees in some of the Viva candidate statements makes her feel fearful for students.
Okay, why is that?
Well, Jade Ashbourne is a trans woman who has a child in SD 61. Here's what worries her.
The concern is the language they're using about parents' rights, the language they're using about how schools aren't a place for being taught morality or schools aren't a place for being taught gender inclusion, that these things should be kept out of schools. And I think that's particularly concerning because we see this debate playing out right now in places like Texas and Florida where school boards and school board elections have been used as an opportunity to start importing this kind of anti-trans or anti-gay and lesbian rhetoric.
And Gregor, the Canadian Anti-Hate Network has actually spoken up about this as well.
Okay, what have they said?
Well, this is an independent nonprofit organization that researches hate groups and hate crimes in Canada. Most recently, they've been looking at the issue of school boards and school board elections. This is because, as Jade mentioned in that clip, in the United States, there have been instances lately of far-right groups taking over local school boards and fighting things like anti-racism teaching, mask mandates, and policies like SOGI. Now, the Anti-Hate Network recently wrote about Viva and the social media posts of some of its candidates. I asked Viva Council candidate Jeremy Maddock about concerns from both parents and the Anti-Hate Network. He said none of the candidates are hateful. He says they believe the focus should be on teaching facts, not theory.
The parents should have a role in determining what their kids are taught. So if parents from different cultures, for example, or who have minority religious values, for example, should be respected if they want to have their kids not taught something that's directly contrary to their religion. That is not to say that we're against the anti-bullying policies at all. I think that schools should ensure that no bullying goes on the basis of any ground, including race, including religion is a big one, including sexual orientation and gender, obviously. But I would say that that's got to be taught in a way that you don't bully people for any reason, not just you don't bully people for this reason. Why not just say don't bully people for any reason?
So that is Jeremy Maddock, one of the 7 candidates running for Victoria Council under the Viva slate. There are 6 people running for school board for Viva. And I should mention, Gregor, the ones that have in their candidate profiles things like staying away from ideology and things like that, none of them got back to me when I asked if they would be available to answer some questions. But you, of course, can find out more online. And I should point out, Gregor, of course, that there are way more people running who are doing so independently. So all told, there are 30 people running for 9 trustee spots in School District 61. That's Greater Victoria. Yeah. There are 37 people in total running for council for 7 spots in the city of Victoria. I focused on Viva because they're the only declared electoral organization, the only group coming at it.
They're the only ones you'll see as a slate on the ballot.
Exactly. So if you're looking at a ballot and going, hey, there's a group of people I could pick.
Yeah.
We wanted to make sure you had some information about who those people were. So you can find out more about them and everyone else online. If you go to the City of Victoria and the Greater Victoria School Board Trustee websites, there are candidate guides where the candidates have laid out their profiles.
Kathryn, thanks for all of this.
You're welcome.
Kathryn Marlow, our CBC Victoria reporter. And speaking of the Victoria municipal election, we'll hear from mayoral candidates coming up after World Report in, 23 minutes from now. This is On the Island on CBC Radio 1.